Several legislators in the state of Nevada are landlords, and they voted against a package of bills that would have given landlords less property rights. But now some are saying that those landlords have a conflict of interest based on their profession. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of the state of Nevada. So, as a lot of people know, Nevada has started to shift, and it is a much more they vote a lot more for Democrats now. And what that means is there's going to be a lot of anti-landlord legislation that's being proposed across the state. And, property rights are going to become, just less and less feasible. It's just going to be less feasible for landlords to be able to operate it. Just it wasn't even that long ago. And Nevada was a red state, a more conservative state, a place where landlords had more property rights. But as time passes, things change. And a lot of Californians have moved to Nevada. A lot of more progressive minded people have moved there, and they are slowly changing the state into a place where I wouldn't want to invest. Okay. And seeing the results of how the legislator voted on these anti landlord laws, well, these laws would have passed if not for the governor of the state vetoing them. Okay. So we dodged a bullet here, but eventually, there might be a change in who the governor is or whatever, right? But these things are going to pass, and so that's a very, very bad thing that we're going to see, right? There's going to be no checks and balances in terms of these ridiculous laws that are being passed, and we'll see a lot of the same stuff that's going on in California, where it's a place where you can't operate a business as a small landlord unless you have a huge personal fortune. Okay. There's likely to be a lot of like laws such as rent control, extremely strong eviction protections, etc. Okay, and I don't want to see that. Nobody wants to see that kind of stuff. So yeah, this is ridiculous, the things that are going on there. But now they're saying that some of the legislators, the Republican legislators who voted against these laws, they actually are landlords, right? And I see nothing wrong with that. Okay, these landlord legislators, they're out there. Yes, they are voting in their own best interest, but they're also representing the people who voted for them. Okay, they were upfront and forward. They followed all the rules with declaring what their source of income was, and they were rightfully elected by the people to represent them based on their viewpoints, right? So them saying now, oh well, it's wrong that they voted against this. No, it's not wrong. I mean, it would be like saying, hey, we have a person in the legislature who is a doctor, right? And that doctor is voting for a package of, universal health care because he wants everyone to, go and get health care. Well, them saying, well, you can't vote on that because you're a doctor and you have a vested interest in that industry. No, I don't. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. Now, I'm 100% against universal health care, but I do believe that if the doctor were to vote on it, there would be nothing wrong with it. Okay. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think. So, do you think it's right or wrong that a politician who is a landlord is voting for or against things that would be beneficial for landlords? Okay. I mean, do you really find a problem with that? I mean, we could go into legislators who are in all sorts of different businesses and how somehow some law that they are actually voting on could benefit their business or the industry that they work in or make money from, or who their wife or spouse or partner makes money from, and to me, I don't see a problem from it unless it is like directly, okay, I'm going to vote for this, and then we are going to directly put money into your specific businesses and only your businesses, and no one else benefits from it. Okay, that's not what we're talking about here. Okay, that's essentially bribery. Okay, but anyway, let's get into this article. They go into a bit more of the details. This article is coming from the Las Vegas Review Journal, and it says Nevada legislators with rental properties voted against bills helping tenants. And I don't like the way that this article is titled, because from the very get go, the premise is wrong. Okay. It suggests that these bills would help tenants, and I don't believe they will. In fact, I believe that in many cases, these bills would hurt tenants. But anyway, let's get into it. At least six Nevada legislators who own rental properties voted against bills affecting rentals, from capping rent increases for seniors to increasing transparency on rental leases, prompting concerns about special interests' influence on government. The four different pieces of legislation passed the Democratic majority legislature along mostly party lines, although they were ultimately vetoed by Republican Governor Joe Lombardo, who later received criticism for rejecting the bills related to tenants' rights and eviction reform. Democrats say the legislation would have eased the Silver State's affordable housing shortage, curbed eviction rates, and increased transparency in rental agreements, while Republican legislators, some of whom were landlords themselves, argue the bills would have stymied the development of affordable housing units and created onerous burdens on landlords. And I tend to agree, okay, with the legislators who are saying, hey, this would have created burdens on the landlords and it would have actually made it harder to develop the affordable housing that they claim that they want. So their thought is, oh, this is going to ease the affordable housing shortage and curb eviction rates, right? Well, those two things don't go hand in hand. In fact, they are opposing. Okay, you curb the eviction rate, that makes less affordable housing available. And let me explain exactly how, okay? Basically, you're telling people that, hey, you can stay in these units and not be evicted, right? And so the people who do need the housing, they don't have anywhere to find because less people are being evicted. Not only that, but landlords have to raise their prices, raise the rent that they charge because they have more people in their units. It's harder to evict them, and that means they're suffering more losses of rental income. So we have less affordable housing available, and it's only going to hurt those tenants who are actually looking for that affordable housing. So in terms of new development, the more laws, rules, and regulations that are passed, the less new development there is. It's inverse reaction. Okay, you think, oh yeah, these developers, they'll just keep building at the same rate they're building now. No, they won't. Okay, they will not, and we've seen this time and time again in jurisdictions where they have all these rules. Okay, they make it so hard to build where you got to jump through so many hoops. You got to have all these permits, pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to the government, just to build. And I'm not talking about the cost of land or even the cost of taxes, right? I'm talking about permits and fees and etc. Those things really are what causes prices to be so high, and specifically in places like California. Okay, it is hard to build anything there, and it is a very, very slow process. So you're going to be sitting on your property for months or years on end, probably more like years on end, before you're able to develop it, which means that you're going to be suffering a loss for month after month after month until you finally able to get that thing up. Okay, and if you are able to get it up, yeah, you can make a fortune. You can make a ton of money out there if you build the right thing, of course, right? Which is why so many of the projects out there are luxury. They're not affordable housing. Instead of making things easier to build affordable housing, they make things harder. They make things much harder, and developers don't want to build it, and they can't build it because they won't make any money. It's hard for them to understand this stuff. Political science and housing experts, however, called into question the conflict of landlords voting on legislation relating to rentals. Nevada Citizen Legislature is made up of legislators who either have jobs that allow them to step away for 6 months every other year or are retired, said Ben Innes, coalition coordinator for the Nevada Housing Justice Alliance. Many legislators are real estate agents, landlords, or others involved in the housing industry, he said. What that means is that when we get these really promising, exciting, urgent, and crucial tenant protection bills, that there's this conflict of interest where they just kind of hit these walls, Ina said. It's a weird conflict and dynamic. And I don't consider it a conflict of interest any more than a citizen such as myself going and voting in a general election against something that I don't agree with that directly affects my business, which is of course being a landlord, or something that is like anti-police because I'm a law enforcement officer as well. So I believe that these people, just like everyone else, they came out, they represented their views when they got elected. They told the people, hey, I'm a landlord, these are the things that I believe in, and now they're expected to go out and vote for those things that they believe in. Now, these tenant rights groups are upset because those things conflict with what they believe, right? But here's what I say, right? If you think that these people are not voting in the manner that you want, right? Well, maybe you should run for election in their jurisdiction and then try to get, elected based on your viewpoint, or find a candidate who has your viewpoint to run in their jurisdiction. And if they're not elected, that means the people, they agree with the politician that they voted into office. Okay, they like the way he votes or she votes, and they want them to continue to vote in that manner. Okay, this is a democratic system, and I just don't believe that you can sit there and say, oh, well, if you have any interest whatsoever in those things that you're voting on, you shouldn't be allowed to vote at all. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. And, it's just another gripe from a bunch of losers who are trying anything they can to, get these ridiculous socialist systems put into place. So, yeah. The funny thing is, they actually won the vote. They won this vote, and if not for the governor vetoing the bills, then these laws would have been put in place. But rather than going after the governor for vetoing them and arguing, oh, this isn't fair, they're going after the politicians on the losing side of the election. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, but whatever. Anyway, I'll put a link to the article down in the description below so that you can read more about it. But like I was saying, I think Nevada and Las Vegas area, it's just, it's going the way of California at this point in time.